Well, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Talkingreef podcast, or should I say videocast. This is the first videocast that I'm going to be doing, so bear with me. This is my fish room, so you're going to hear a lot of background noise. I'm going to do my best to try to filter that out, but we'll see how it turns out. In this show, this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through some phytoplankton culturing, how to start it from a new culture, and also how to split existing cultures. And then I'm going to take you through and show you my setup real quick. It should be a short video, and hope everybody enjoys it. So let's go over into the other room. Well, first off, welcome to my little laboratory looking area here. Just going to show you this stuff real quick so you can see my setup, and then I'll show you how it all works. So basically, down on the bottom over here we've got the rotifer cultures, which I'll get into those some other time. But what we're going to concentrate now on is the phytoplankton. As you can see, I've used the Rubbermaid containers. I found that they work a lot better and they're a lot easier to clean than the regular 2-liter bottles that you see everybody else using. We got my dates right down there, which I'll talk about that in a little bit. All the hoses that come out of them are all powered by a couple pumps up here. Here's the valves with all the air knobs to control the airflow. So that's pretty much how my setup works. Each one comes out, comes down into the bottles, and you can kind of see them bubbling away in here. So let's take a minute and talk about how we start one of these cultures. And this is my little utility room, my laundry room basically, and this is where I do all my culture splitting and stuff like that, and where I kind of take care of this stuff. So again, just to let you know what I start with, this is the Rubbermaid container. Basically, it's a 2-quart Rubbermaid container, comes with a lid on it, and basically what I do with this, kind of get the light out of here, is I drill a hole right in the middle of it. That is for a rigid airline tubing, like this here, and basically it'll fit right inside of there. And you want to make sure that the hole is a little bit bigger than the tube, that way you can allow the air to pass through there, because this is going to inject air into the culture to keep everything moving around. We also use regular flex tubing. The flex tubing is actually just going to fit right over the end here, just like that, and that's how it's going to attach into there. The tube is then going to go into the top of the bottle here, and then it's going to go right onto the bottle like that. This one's a little bit too long. I'd usually like to cut it like just above the top here, and that's how it's going to sit, and then it's going to bubble away in your culture. So now, about starting it, let's get this out of the way. Basically what you need is a couple different things to actually get it started. This is where I store my what's called the culture medium. This is a 2-gallon, again, Rubbermaid. I don't know if you can see it. Here we go. It's a 2-gallon Rubbermaid container. I've got 2 of these that I keep filled up with water. This is RODI water. It is very, very important that when you're doing phytoculturing that you only use RODI water, because the other stuff is very bad and can cause some problems with your cultures. So basically I've got the water, salt water, mix it to a specific gravity of 1.019, and the other stuff that I use here is microalgae grow, actually per farm. Also use certain types of Miracle Grow, but I don't use those, so I'm not going to specifically talk about those at this point. But they do work. So basically the way we start the culture is we're going to take this, we are going to fill it up down here basically with the culture medium. I'm not going to fill it all up because I don't want to waste all of it, but basically that's what you're going to do. The next part, which I don't have the culture discs, from Florida Aqua Farms and from a lot of different sellers like that, you can get these round culture discs, and inside there will be the phytoplankton, and you'll take that and you'll wipe it off with a Q-tip. They send you a sterilized Q-tip, and you wipe it off and you're going to add it to your culture water. This stuff right here, the stuff with the microalgae grow or the Miracle Grow or what have you. So then you're going to add that into here, then you're going to put the top on just like I mentioned, and then it's going to sit in your bubbler. Or if you have somebody that you know that already does cultures, you can basically take some culture from them, and just take it, pour it right in here, and that's another way you can start your culture. So there's a couple different options there. Now, once you have your culture started, let's get rid of that one. what we're going to have to do is split cultures. So I'm going to be back in 1 second once I get some more stuff moved around here, and I'll show you how to split cultures. Okay, now I've got my stuff ready here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start splitting my culture. So the first thing I do is I grab 2 of my bottles from on my back shelf where I just showed you, where it's all up in culturing. There's a couple other things that we need. You've got, first of all, this again is from Florida Aqua Farms. It's a 53 micron collection filter. I don't know if we can see inside here, but there's a screen in there, very, very fine screen, and that's what we're going to use to filter the phytoplankton. It's important that every time you do this, at least in my opinion, that we go through and we actually filter all this stuff out to make sure it's nice and clean when we start our next culture. There's also bags, which I have. I don't use these anymore since I got this other one, but it's the same concept. You can open it up, pour your phytoplankton through, and it'll do the same thing to filter it out. So what we're going to start with is an empty container. I always keep 2 extra containers for this process. So I'm going to take the collection cup that I showed you, the filter one. We're going to pour that right through. There's the first one. And now we're going to do the second one. So here goes the second one. Making a little bit of a mess, but that's okay. It always happens. Okay, so this is actually pretty clean. Not a whole lot of grunge and stuff like that. Can't really see anything. Every once in a while I get some buildup inside there. So the next important thing is what we're left with is 2 dirty, as you can see, we got some crud growing on here. This one's even worse. That is still healthy phytoplankton in the bottom of there. You can't really see it very well, but it's not dead. It's actually growing and stuck to the bottom. But the next thing what we're going to do is we're going to take these 2 here, set them aside, and these need to be washed out. It's very important that when you're doing this, that every time you start with the cleanest stuff possible. So we're going to wash this back out, and then we're going to go through the rest of the process. So I don't think you need to watch me wash them, so give me a minute and I'll take care of that. Okay, so now I've got clean bottles. Yes, this is the same one, nice and clean. Got both of them cleaned and dried out and ready to go. So the first thing that we're going to do, let me just kind of show you a little trick. What I use for cleaning is I've got a wooden spatula thing with a toothbrush, rubber band to it. And this works great for, cleaning the lids and stuff like that here. But this is a cool little trick for, cleaning out tubes and hosings and anything where you got to reach far in and get in there and kind of get stuff cleaned out. So this is something that I use for cleaning the lids. And then I just got a regular little scrubby pad that I use for cleaning out the inside of the bottles. And the nice thing about these is they're big enough for even my big old hands to get inside here all the way and get them cleaned out. Whereas with a 2-liter bottle, you can't get inside there, and there's a lot of grunge and icky stuff that grows inside there, and using this makes it a lot easier to clean out, and you don't have to replace the bottles every couple weeks. So the first thing we're going to do is I've got a couple other large containers. You can use whatever you want, any kind of storage thing, but because I also culture the rotifers, I need some of this phytoplankton to feed to them. So I'm going to take my first phytoplankton and I'm just going to pour it into here. And I'm going to set that aside because I'm going to use that later when I actually split my rotifer. So we're going to set that aside, and the empty container aside. And then I've got my 2 new, well, not new, but they're the used ones that I've been using for my phyto. They're all cleaned up, they're ready to go. So what I'm going to do here is take my second bottle, and this is where we're actually splitting the culture. And this is the nice thing, because you can take this one bottle that you've been culturing. Usually people set up more. I mean, I've got like 6 of them that run all the time, but it's a continuous supply. You don't have to rebuy the stuff unless you have a major crash and you lose them all. So we take the one bottle, and we are going to pour half into here, and the other half into here. Look at that, pretty much perfect. That's what happens when you've been doing it for a year. So this one's done. This is going to go back. I'll wash that out later. And now I've got, from the one bottle, I've got 2. And then we're just going to take our culture medium, which you can't really see very well, but it's that bottle over here, and top both of these back off. Also want to remember to clean out all your stuff when you're done using it, because then I'm going to take this and actually use this when I do my rotifer split. And it's very important to keep all that stuff separated and cleaned out when you're going back and forth. So, alright, this one's about filled up. Oh, your culture medium. It's also very important that your container that you store it in always stays sealed to try to reduce any evaporation that could happen, because what's going to happen is that the water is going to evaporate out, and just like in your aquarium, the specific gravity or the salinity is going to change. As the water evaporates, the salinity is going to go up, and you want to try to keep this as close to 1.019 as you can, because that's usually what they grow best at. So basically at this point I've got my full one, which I'll fill this one up again later. I'm going to put my top back on it. And again, I am all set. What I will take, I'll take this right back over there. I'll hook it up to my lines over there, and the tube's going to go right back into the top here, and I'm all set. So, right there, I've just been able to show you basically how you start your phytoplankton, whether starting it from a culture disc or a split from somebody else, which is usually a good way to go. Either way, it's up to you. I've had to restart all my cultures only one time, and the first time I started and the second time I both used culture discs. And that's pretty much it. Very easy to do, renewable food. You can take this, the excess that I was working with here that I'm going to feed to the rotifers out of this batch. My other batches I actually put into 2-liter bottles and they get stored away in the fridge. It's important that when you're storing them, you can store them for a little while, but you got to make sure that every day or two you go in there and shake up the bottles. I can show you my bottles. Here's an example of one of my bottles. You can't see very well, but a lot of it's settled at the bottom. See how it's all settled at the bottom down there? I haven't shaken this one yet today. So again, this is why it's important. You go in here, shake it all up, and the stuff is off the bottom. Nice and clean. And that's going to look a little bit darker also. So that's pretty much all you do there. And then this goes right back in the fridge. When this is empty, I just refill it from all this stuff. Okay, so that's going to wrap up this first video cast. On the next one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the rotifier split. That's even easier than this. Much, much easier. A couple other things I didn't mention I'll add in here. You saw the setup. I've got the lights. These need to be lit for 16 hours and dark for 8. I think that adds it. Yes. 16 hours light. Sorry. And dark for 8 hours. And I just got a little timer from, you know, a hardware store or whatever, and that's pretty much what takes care of that. The bubblers, they run 24/7. Some people actually will go through daily and shake them up. You can do that. I do that occasionally. I don't do it, you know, every day. If I notice that the cultures aren't coming out as dense as they normally do, then I'll go through and shake them up, but that's not something that I always do. I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, make sure you send them in an email or post them in the forums, and we'll do what we can to take care of it for you.